As you know, I'm always looking for new ghost stories, and you can tell your ghost story to me in person if you book at the Phantom History House Bed and Breakfast. Go to phantomhistoryhouse.com, check out our 4 themed rooms, and book, and we will talk very soon. Hello everybody, Steve here with Phantom History, and I'm with Kathleen Traver, who is one of the owners of the Spookeasy Lounge in Ybor City in the historic district of Tampa, Florida. Kat, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Steve?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad that we get a chance to talk. You and I have met a couple times in passing, have talked about talking several times, so I'm glad we're finally able to connect here. Now, the Spookeasy Lounge, for those who may not know or may not be in the Tampa Bay area, is kind of an iconic location in our historic district, which is unlike any other place that I've been in that area. So, Kat, if you can, I'm going to have you describe what exactly is the Spookeasy Lounge and what do you do there?
The Spookeasy Lounge is a haunted Kava coffee shop. However, we are a little bit unique. We are 2 levels. So upstairs we have a sober environment where we serve Kava botanical teas, herbal teas, coffee. We also have a full kitchen, so we have a full menu, lots of good bar foods, burgers, fries, wings, all the good eats like that. And then downstairs, we have what's called the catacombs, which is our full liquor bar. So that opens up later in the evening and runs till close. So it gives people an opportunity to have, a place for sober stay and then a place to have some alcohol as well. But you can't mix the two. You can't bring the alcohol upstairs and vice versa.
Right, and I'm sure there's several reasons for that, but one is that those types of teas and alcohol don't mix well, correct?
Yeah, kava doesn't mix well with alcohol because kava is a liver detoxifier. It inhibits your body's ability to break down alcohol when you've been drinking kava. So we recommend not combining the two together so that you can enjoy your evening.
Right, exactly. And keeping them separate like that is really smart. And what's so really neat about your location is you called it a haunted lounge,
Yes.
because not only is it actually haunted, which we're going to talk about in a second, but it's the way it's decked out and your decor is amazing. It's gothic, it's Victorian, it's Hollywood monsters. I mean, how do you describe what you have going on there?
It's a very eclectic combination of all sorts of things. It is our greatest joy to decorate and make props. So my husband and I are constantly making things and doing things, and it's just a joy that we get to share it with a community of people that are open-minded and creative and enjoy Halloween.
You get to celebrate Halloween year round like we do here at the
All
Bed and
year.
Breakfast. So it's fantastic. That's why I knew you were my kind of people. So, and you can see just by the chair or the couch you're sitting on,
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like the vibe. I mean, these beautiful antiques that you have there are so impressive. Now, I know that the building that you're in is pretty old. It's like one of I don't know if it's an original building to Ybor City, but it dates back quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about the building, what you know so far?
Yeah, it was built in the early 1800s. It's originally it was 4 stories tall. There was a fire. Not exactly sure of the date, but we're approximating in the 50s is when the 3rd and 4th story burned down. But it is full of spirits. It used to be a church. It used to be a secret society. Amongst other types of what's the word I'm looking for? Different kinds of churches, different denominations.
Different denominations. Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
And now it's 2 levels now, but it used to be 4, is what you were saying, because you're counting the catacombs as a level, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know that there were a couple of fires in Ybor City. One was I think it was 1908. It was like the really bad one. So I don't know if that's the one you're referring to. I'm going to do some digging too and see what I can find out. So I know that wiped out a lot of Ybor City. And for those who may not know, Ybor City was built by immigrants for the cigar manufacturing that is so huge here in Tampa. So it's very Cuban and Italian and German. I mean, it's very, very eclectic down there, which was what part of makes it so cool down there. Now, you'd said that, there's a lot of spirits that are there in the
Mhm.
building. Before I ask specifics on those, how long has the Spookeasy Lounge been in this building?
We opened in this building in September of 22. So we're going on about 7 months being in this building.
Okay. Which I love that because the bed and breakfast opened, we moved in September of 22. So we're the exact same age, which is kind of funny. So we get all the work that you put in to make that place as amazing as it is. Uh, so there was a Spookeasy Lounge before. I know you relocated from down the street. Um, when did you first realize that this building had something in it, that you weren't exactly alone in there? When did you notice some strange happenings?
We always knew that this place had activity just from us going out. It used to be a nightclub, and my husband and I actually met in this building. So we
Amazing.
knew back then that there was activity, but the first time that we started experiencing it ourselves was probably day one. Um, there are shadow figures here that we were seeing immediately. Things got moved around a lot during our construction phases of building stuff in here. And lots of things were misplaced. Things were falling off shelves and flying across rooms, such as in the kitchen. It happens a lot in the kitchen, quite frequently, actually. That the two spirits, that we have two children that are here. One of the young spirits messes with the cooks all the time. So things will fly off the shelf. Plates will be turned over with like food sitting next to it that was already on the plate, but somehow the plate got turned over and then the food was sitting next to it. Things like that. Things happen a whole lot.
So things that you can't really explain away, it sounds like things that are,
Yeah, you can't explain it.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially the food thing. That's crazy to
Yeah.
think about. Now you said
Yeah.
that at least two of the spirits there are kids.
Yes.
How do you know that? Were there some investigations done, or what is your
We
source?
had a few investigations. A lot of the ghost tours that come through here um would have certain findings. Some of the ghost tours have, the electronic devices where they're able to speak to the spirits. Um, they're not associated with each other, but each group has the same findings. And we also had an overnight investigation as well as a morning investigation because a lot of stuff happens in the morning also. So every group that has done something in this building has found the exact same things. So we have names for them. They have come through and told us their names. And so we do talk to them. We do bribe them when they do things. The little girl, her name's Sophie, she likes to mess with the music and turn off the music, and she just did actually.
Wow.
There will be times where I will offer her a cookie and I'll put a cookie on the bar and ask her to please stop, and she'll stop.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
so just like the children that are among us, bribery works. It
Mhm.
helps.
Yep.
Wow.
We
So
also mess with our candles too. We have a lot of battery operated candles that they will turn on and off themselves. And when prompted, when you ask them questions, they will light up the candles. There has been a few times where there hasn't been batteries in the candles and they're lighting up and as we're speaking to them.
that's amazing. I mean, how in the world? I mean, I know spirits can conduct energy. Some people say they are energies. So that is amazing.
Mhm.
Are these like yes and no questions? I'm assuming, is that
Yes
kind of
and
how
no
you
questions.
okay.
Hmm.
So Sophie, I believe you said her name was.
Yes.
How old do you guess that she would be?
She's younger than 5 years old and she likes to play games. She likes playing peekaboo. Like I said, she messes with the music a lot. But we do have people who can see her. And she comes out and does a lot of playful activity.
Okay. Now, any idea who Sophie is? I mean, is there a link to the history of the building that you're aware of?
Yeah, she perished in the fire. On the third floor, there used to be an orphanage. and
Okay.
she was one that perished, and
Wow.
she's still here.
And then it's amazing that you have that connection, that she's still
Mhm.
around, especially if it was, the early 1900s or whatever. She's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she's a little mischievous, but she sounds very sweet at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, so not something to be afraid of. Does she have like a favorite part of the Spookeasy that she likes to hang out in? I mean, I know you talked about the music, but or
Yep.
does she just kind of go everywhere?
Yep. She likes to hang out in the loft space that's right directly to my left. People see her hanging from the chandelier or peeking through the stair railings. And so she like hides and peeks through. So people say there was a kid in here, like no, there wasn't a kid that
I
you're
was
seeing.
going to ask, what kind of reaction do you get when you tell them that no, there's not a child here, but here's the story?
Yeah,
What do
people
people
get
usually think?
excited. They think it's cool. They come here knowing that it is spooky. So if they get to encounter any of the spirits while visiting, they get excited.
That's amazing, and the fact that you've already formed kind of a relationship with her is really cool. And you mentioned that there was a second child as well. Is this another one related to the orphanage days?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We call them brother and sister, although they're not from the same family. But his name is Sebastian, and he's a little older than Sophie, but is a little bit more mischievous and knocks things over and gets in the cook's way. They're always telling him to stop doing what he's doing because he's always in the kitchen messing stuff up.
So how do your cooks respond to that? I mean, are okay with it? Does it freak anybody out where they're like, I can't do
No,
this? I mean, what's that like?
yeah, they talk to him like he's alive, like hey Sebastian, stop doing that. And we recently redid some of our menus and we named a lot of our beverages after the spirits that we interact with most, so he has his own drink now.
So I have to ask, what's the name of the drink?
It's called Sebastian.
It's just called Sebastian. Okay, I,
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it keeps the spirits engaged and involved and like part of the fun. How many spirits would you say are in that building?
17.
17. That's a lot of ghosts. I mean, it's a big building, but that's a lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
Do you know who they each are, or do you have like nicknames for them if you don't know who they actually are? How does that work?
So we know names of 6 of them. And we also have a shadow figure, which isn't, a spirit of a living person. And we also have a tulpa, which is an energy that is brought in by individuals trying to conjure up something. So that is downstairs in the basement where a lot of people feel the most energy. You will have the scents that come along with spirits, that sulfur smell. You get that every now and again. So people that are in the ghost tours like to go downstairs and try and speak to something. So they're creating this tulpa that's there. So,
Okay.
but as far as the other spirits, I haven't had the opportunity to get to know them more. There has been names that have been brought up, but there has yet to be any other further interaction with them. When this was a church, there were people buried here. So as far as we know, and as much as we've heard from other historic guides that come through with the history tours, that there are bodies buried out back. So they are unidentifiable because there is no more grave markers. So I don't know them yet. So we're working on getting to know them if they want to get to know us and if they're friendly and
A whole lot of ifs.
yeah, yes. If they will allow us to celebrate them, we will bring them into our stories. So we're still working on that.
And that's amazing because I didn't even think about the graveyard aspect of this. If it was a church, like you said, I mean, it was a church, that would just make sense that would be nearby. And when you're in Ybor City, you don't think of it in that way. You just think of it as these buildings like are back to back, and there's probably nothing back there. So there's like a space behind the building that you can actually, is like a little lawn space, or what does that even look like back there?
Yeah, there is like, a lawn space back there, but there are also apartments that were built after this building right behind it. So I'm guessing that that's where they are now, underneath the apartments.
Okay, so you may be sharing some of those spirits with the apartments that are behind you, maybe kind of checking it all out.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, how are you with all of this? I mean, you're very relaxed. You're like, oh, this is so cool, and I want to get to know them. Have you always been like that when it comes to this kind of thing? Have you always been into the haunted?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My dad, growing up, my dad was a mortician and funeral director. So every day after school, I got to go to the funeral home and had lots of experiences while there. And it was a different bonding experience being a young girl with her dad, like most dad and daughters do different bonding experiences, but ours always revolved around Halloween and ghosts. So ever since I was young, um, I had many opportunities to witness a lot of strange, unexplainable things.
Would you say that you're psychic, sensitive? Where are you on that scale, do you think?
I would say I'm empathic.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes in my peripheral vision, I will see the shadows and figures come through and be near me. So
Wow.
I can sometimes, but I can't make it happen. It just happens.
Okay.
Um,
So,
so
and I've of
it's
course been told a million times it happens when the spirits want it to happen. I mean, we don't
right.
have really as much control as we want to say we can have in that situation. I'm going to ask about more about the Spookeasy in a minute, but when do you remember when your first paranormal experience was and what that was? Was it at that funeral home?
No, it was actually in my bedroom. When I was 5 years old, my grandfather passed away. And I remember laying in my bed and I was crying. And in the doorway, a bright light came through, and my grandfather was standing there. And it was in that moment, like I was actually looking straight on at him. And he was standing there in the doorway and he came to the foot of my bed and he didn't say anything, but his presence made me stop crying and I was felt calm and at peace after I saw him.
So it sounds like it offered you a little bit of closure that he's okay and he
Mhm.
can go on to what that's
Mhm.
amazing. And I think that there's some truth to the saying that younger kids are more open to this kind of thing than
Mhm.
those of us who are adults because we kind of close our minds off to that, and it takes a little bit more work. Um,
Yeah.
at the Spookeasy Lounge, was there a moment or an event or something that scared you that kind of stands out the most, where you were like, "Oh, okay, this is," I can see by your face, you're like, "Oh yeah." I'd love to hear that story.
We had an overnight paranormal investigation here at the Spookeasy where we had a YouTuber come in that does paranormal investigation. And we were here the entire night. It was not supposed to be more than like a 2 to 3 hour filming, and it lasted until almost sunrise. And we started upstairs, and it seemed like every candle was flickering, and it was pretty active. But then we moved downstairs. So to set you up on what that looked like, he had a few different mediums come in and he would blindfold them, and with like the giant like soundproof earmuffs, was playing the radio frequencies in their ears so they couldn't hear what he was saying, but they could hear what the spirits were saying, and then they would speak once they heard words or sentences. um the cook that played with Sophie the most was here, and he played peekaboo with her a lot. And we were downstairs. The medium was sitting in a chair, blindfolded with her earmuffs on, and the cook got up to leave for a moment to go use the restroom. As he returned into the room and as he passed by the medium, she yells out, "Peekaboo," not knowing any of the story previous to that. So that was just the first little bit of that. But as the night progressed, more weird things started happening, such as they had the laser grid projected on the wall, and it's basically green lasers projecting a grid onto the wall, so that if a spirit walks into the grid, you'll see the outline of the spirit. So as we were downstairs doing the investigation, a shadow figure walked into the grid and then started walking towards us. And then the battery on the grid died. So then the lights went out. And they were fresh batteries. So it was really eerie to see, a huge figure come into the line of sight and then come towards us, and then the lights go out. So that was pretty freaky. They ended up putting a new set of batteries in, to which it died again. So it didn't last very long.
So do you think that was the topa that you mentioned before, or was it more human-like? Or do you know?
It was more human-like. You could see the outline of the body, the arms, the legs, everything walking right towards you.
That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. We also have lots of video. Like we have video of the orbs coming in and coming up and touching people, like almost licking their face and then floating away. We have images, pictures that people have taken of. I have one really great image of someone taking a photo towards a mirror, and in the mirror's reflection, you see a man standing there with a gun. And there was somebody shot downstairs back in the day. A cigar roller was shot. So we believe that he is we call him the gunman. We believe that he is still here. So.
And that, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's my next question. I mean, I know there's like a very big mob tie to Ybor City, and there's the Cigar City Mafia is a great series. It's a great documentary. What are some of the other, I guess tragedies are the right word to use, that are related to the Spookeasy? I mean, you talked about the orphanage. There was a fire. You talk about there was a shooting of the cigar roller. Are there any other instances like that you've come across in the history of the place?
Yeah, I'm still digging up a lot of stuff, but one thing that comes to mind is that there was a bride and groom that were poisoned here the day of their wedding, and they both died. And I don't know exactly what date that was, but I have meetings set up to meet with some of the historians that know all of those stories to get all the full details. But yeah, there's been many people murdered or perishing in the fire. A lot of people perished in that fire that time.
Yeah, and as you said, there's at least 17 spirits that you're aware of that are there. And this is a kind of out of left field, but totally your opinion. Do you think those spirits are all tied to the building, or are some of them tied to some of the historic objects you brought in, or is it a mix, or do you know?
No, I think they're mostly tied to the building or around this building. We do have animal spirits here as well. Although they did not perish in this building, they perished somewhere nearby, and they come in.
So what's that like? What kind of animal spirits do you have, and how have you spotted them?
We have 2 dogs. We have like a Labrador, a black lab, and also a Mastiff, like one of the really big ones. And they came through. I have a shaman, a Native American shaman, and they came through her. And she told me that they were here with us. And that makes me feel really good, because I am a huge dog lover. So just knowing that they're here is nice. Dogs are friendly, so
yeah,
nice.
absolutely. And they feel safe with you and in your place, so that has to make you feel good too. We all want to make our animals feel very happy. So
sure.
We talked a little bit about your customers who will see Sophie peeking through, from under the steps or wherever, and they are like, "Oh, we saw this thing." Have you ever had any customers come up to you or to Evan, your husband, and say, "The craziest thing just happened in the bathroom. This
Yes.
thing just happened on the dance floor"? Okay, well, can you share a couple of those with me? What stands out?
A lot of times it's in the feminine bathroom upstairs. People will hear certain things and see certain things more often than not. When I go into that restroom, if the door is cracked just a little bit, I do see someone pass by that crack, and I see someone walk by, I'll open the door and no one will be in there. There are a lot of times when people use that restroom, they will start screaming because they will start hearing something and they'll come running out, like I just heard a big bang, or it was like I heard a voice, or I was looking in the mirror and saw a reflection back at me. Lots of stories. But they're all, quite exciting, but they get a scream, but then they come out and then they get a good laugh out of it, because they've got to experience that. And that's what they're here for.
Yeah,
Just to
and no,
experience it.
nobody's running out the door, saying, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I can't do that." I know when we came by, we were in the catacombs downstairs, and Evan took us into one of the restrooms. I can't remember what it was, and thought there might be a connection to the fabled tunnels of Ybor City.
Hmm.
And I think he said there were some strange things that happened down there. I was wondering if you could expand about that a little bit. One on the tunnels, and if anything happens in that bathroom.
Yeah, um presumably there are tunnels underneath this building. We don't have access to them. The tunnels are not open to the public. A lot of times once they're discovered, they're filled with sand. And then you can't get in. It could be a danger if somebody were to go into them. So we don't have access to them. At some point in time that the entrance to them was covered up. But that bathroom is known for some pretty serious energy. Most of which I think is the people, like I said, trying to conjure it, which is the energy they're bringing into it. So it's not necessarily a person, a spirit that is still lingering here. It's like an energy that people are bringing into the space. So I have protection symbols in there so that people don't bring in something not good.
Yeah.
But more times than not, all the ghost tours will bring in stuff, and you'll hear scratching on the walls. When we did our ghost investigation, they caught the spirits jiggling the handles of the toilet, and slamming the lid down. Also, they were talking to the spirits in there and they were asking it to do something, and jiggling the locks, the handles, and slamming of the toilet seat. So there's a lot of activity in there.
Well, and not only in there, it sounds like throughout your whole building, there's something
Yeah.
happening everywhere, which is amazing. I'm curious. I know it's two levels now. The top two levels burned away a long time ago. Is there any access up there? Is there like an attic space or anything, or is that just it up there now?
No attic space, but there is a very vertical ladder to get to the roof, but it's not accessible to the public.
Of course.
So it's for us to use as maintenance to get to the roof to do things if we need to.
Okay, and that makes sense. And I was just curious because you lose the level of a building. It's like, well, what's left? What do you do? I guess you just roof it and then
Yeah.
and then go from there.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the ghost tours and things. Obviously, you're very open to these, and you're like, come on in and check it out. How many? I actually used to be a ghost tour guide in Ybor City, so I know a lot of the history. I was curious how those relationships are formed, and what do the ghost tours do? Do they stop outside? Do you invite them in? What does that look like?
Depending on the size of the ghost tour, a lot of them will present the stories of the building or of this section of Ybor outside, and then allow them to come in, and then they'll take a tour around. Depending if we're open downstairs, they're allowed to go downstairs, because we open downstairs later in the evening. So if they happen to come by before they open, they can't go down there, but they can come up here and look around. However, we encourage their customers, to sit here for a moment, and enjoy the space, maybe have a beverage, because you never know when something's going to happen.
Yeah. Again, whenever it comes to spirits and ghosts, very unpredictable. You never know. But I've talked to several people who either own a haunted location or investigate a haunted location regularly, who say that they kind of have a relationship with the spirits in the building, and that sounds like that's exactly what you're building in the Spookeasy with Sophie and Sebastian and some of the others.
Oh yeah,
Um, you said you walked around and you actually talked to them. Is it just in general or when something strange happens?
both. So when we first moved in, we asked them, or told them, hey, we're coming in here and we're doing this type of business. We're here to celebrate you. We'd love for you to be a part of this and allow this to be an experience for all of us that we all enjoy. So we did a lot of that too. We also say goodnight to them every time we leave. So when the lights are turned off, we say bye ghosties. So if you see we have some merchandise that, some stickers that say bye ghosties on it. And that's because, it's one of our daily routines, we say hello to them and goodbye to them each and every day. But when they do stuff, we do talk back, Abigail is the lady of the night spirit that is here. And if there is people arguing or raising their voice, not that we have people arguing here, but if somebody's talking about something intensely, let's say, she doesn't like that. So she will start strobing the candles that are on the wall in the area where she's most present. And they will go crazy. And we found out that she doesn't like that by asking yes or no questions. Like we were just sharing a scary story or an intense moment, and she doesn't want that energy here. She wants it to be nice and calm and no raising of voices, not too loud. She doesn't like it too loud.
And
So.
And you called her Abigail and said she was a lady of the night in the traditional sense? Is that what
Yeah.
you mean? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously this was through the investigations you've done and with some of the Q&As. So before I let you go, we've talked about two children's spirits. We talked about the Lady of the Night. We talked about the Topa, dark energy in the basement. Is there a male spirit that is kind of like a dominant spirit in the building? And who is that?
Yeah, we have a priest that is often cited by the restrooms at the end of the bar. He usually wears a green garb and stands at the end of the bar, and many people have seen him and don't know of the other stories or haven't heard about him. And they're like, they'll say, I see a guy that looks like a priest in this green outfit over there, and I'm like, okay, well, that's just confirmation. So when you keep hearing that stuff, it's like, okay, this must be real because there are multiple people seeing the same thing. So he is definitely here, and he makes his rounds in the morning. He's seen coming up the stairs, and he walks onto the stage area almost like he's setting up for mass, and he'll make his rounds and then he's gone for the afternoon, and sometimes he's seen in the evening, but he's most active in the morning.
Which is interesting because most people think hauntings only happen at night or after midnight or whatever, but being the history of that building and being a church, that makes perfect sense. And I never thought about this till right now. I've been in that building as a Spookeasy. I've been into it when it was a nightclub before. Was the your original altar closest to the street? Is that how it was originally set up? Okay, so I always had it flipped in my head, but that makes perfect sense. That's where the altar would be. Do you know if any of the priests of the church lived there or nearby, or do we know that yet?
I don't know that yet. Still working on that. We presume as much, seeing that there was an orphanage here, that there would be a living quarter for the clergy that was here.
Right. That makes perfect sense. if anybody's, when those of you who are watching this, if you're ever in the Ybor City area, you have to go to this building. It's such a cool place. And not only are the owners wonderful, the staff's fantastic, and the food and drink is amazing too. Anything that I didn't ask you about, or anything that you wanted to share that you wanted to do before I let you say goodbye? Because I don't want you to give away all your stories, of course, because we want people to come and experience some things. But
There you
anything
go.
to touch
There's
on?
so much. I was just giving little bits,
I
but
know.
yeah, there's a lot. My shaman was just, I met with her this past week, and she said that the priest actually was with the nun that's also here. And the reason why they're still in spirit world and interacting with us is because they were a thing, and they created their own purgatory, which is why they're still here, which I thought was interesting. So that's something that I kind of want to look into and investigate a little bit. Because I found that to be kind of interesting to why she said that. So it's
Yeah,
just neat.
it's very, very soap opera-ish.
Yeah.
They were probably on the down low in life, and now they can be themselves maybe afterlife. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for clergy in the green or the nun, or not yet?
I don't, not
Okay.
yet. We
All right.
just call them the priest and the nun.
So the nun. And I love that you're so into the history about all this. You try to figure out who these entities are and what their connection is to the building.
It's some of the stuff you can't really dig up. There's records that have either been misplaced or haven't been recorded in a easy way to find out. So it's been a lot of trying to dig up a bunch of stuff. I'm interested to see what you can dig up if you're able to.
I definitely plan to do some digging myself as well. I love researching anywhere, but especially my hometown of Tampa, because there's so much history here that we just don't know about, and more gets uncovered all the time. Final thing for you before we say goodbye: if somebody wants to learn more about the Spookeasy, where can they find you? Websites, all that kind of stuff. Where can people find more information?
We're on all social media platforms. You can look for us under Spookeasy Lounge on Facebook, the Spookeasy on Instagram. We are on TikTok as well. Our website is Spookeasy Lounge at spookeasylounge.com. And if anybody wants to email me, they can email me at spookeasylounge@gmail.com.
You're easy to track down. You are everywhere,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we love. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about all this. I mean, I could keep you on this call for like 4 hours, and we would
I
still
know.
have more stuff to talk about.
I know. I have a lot to talk to you about too, about your place. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I definitely plan to come down and visit. We'll have you two up here to the B&B. I mean, we're only half an hour away. And we'll share some more stories. And maybe we'll revisit some of these again for a future podcast if you're up for it.
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for taking the time to be a part of Phantom History. I appreciate it. And I cannot wait to come see you.
Thank you.
You're
Can't wait to
welcome.
see you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Steve. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for watching that. Remember, go to phantomhistory.com and sign up on the newsletter so you are alerted when we have a new podcast. And check out our new bed and breakfast at phantomhistoryhouse.com, where you can book your stay and we can talk ghost stories in person in the library. See you then.